Välkommen till Aktiedagen i Lund och Aktiespararna. Jag vill nu hälsa vår nästa moderator Linda Wikström. Välkommen.
Tusen tack.
Scenen är din, Linda.
Tackar. Jag vill också tacka Amanda Termén som var moderator tidigare idag. Jag vill börja med att meddela att nästa presentation kommer att vara på engelska. So, without further ado, let me give a warm welcome to the CEO of our next company, that is technology company Crunchfish, with the CEO Joachim Samuelsson. Very welcome.
Thank you very much, Linda.
And cash is king, or what do you
Cash
think?
is king,
Okay.
Absolutely. I think we will touch on that subject a little bit today.
I think so too, thank you.
Great to be here. We pose a question, can you see into the future? We believe in some sense that we can, because we're seriously about creating it. We are a tech company, as Linda said, and this is sort of where, if we really going to look at the whole company, we are solving for the future. And what we always do is to look at what is the way to solve a problem from a human perspective. We're not letting technology control it. There are so many areas where we have let technology put limits on what the solution should be, instead of looking at how is it best for us humans. If we look at gesture control, for instance, this is an area where we would sort of, I would say, help people finally, because it has to be a very short time in human history that we had bent neck and walked down like this and looking down in a mobile screen. It really is such a short span of human history. And we need to take up our, look people in the eye again. And that will soon happen with something which is called AR glasses. It's coming to markets quite soon and will probably be the next device that's gonna be as common to everybody as mobile phones. And we do the gesture control that could control the interaction in that very challenging environment. Nearby is another area where we're looking at the problem at why should it really be so difficult to connect digitally with the proximity? Why is that hard? And we're solving that with the nearby area. Food waste, this is an area where United Nations has declared it as, they are questioning, I'm sure you do as well, why are we throwing away a third of all the food we produce? How on earth could that ever happen? And we are coming up with a great idea to engage all the consumers in order for them not to always reach out to the back of the shelf to take the freshest milk, but possibly with a reward if you do a climate conscious decision of taking a milk that is maybe just 2 days to expiry, you will get a reward immediately. And that's the way to, we believe, to engage sort of consumers. Blip it. We all love to blip. We have these contactless cards, and we do it with Bluetooth instead as a bearer. And why can't we blip in even more circumstances? We certainly made it possible with Blip It to blip using Swish, for instance, here in Sweden, one of the great sort of payment service providers. But you can blip possibly in other areas as well. What I will spend most of the day on is the area which, it certainly excites me the most. I've been the CEO in this company for about a year, and I was the chairman for 8 years. We were very much in gesture control, but this was an unusual project we took on. And when we saw that this is going to be huge, digital cash, I said we should swap in some way, me and the previous CEO. He's still there. He's my closest man, my COO, he's running gesture control, but I took over as the CEO because digital cash is a big part of what Crunchfish is all about. The question we're asking ourselves here, why on earth are we dependent on the net when we pay? That also has to be a very limited time in human history, because it's always been, when we meet people, you pay. It's a local transaction. You give something to the other person and then you're done. There is nothing called the net, but we have made ourselves independent. Why is it that way? Our solution is something we call digital cash. It is like physical cash with having all these sort of great properties of physical cash. It is that it works all the time. Everything that could go wrong in the cloud is taken out. Because what we do is that we do a transaction in 2 steps. We settle it offline as a transaction between the merchant and the customer. completely independent from anything in the cloud. And the beauty with this is that we are using the online cloud later for settlement without changing it. Because if you think of it, the cloud itself do not know whether a transaction has happened 10 minutes ago or if it's happened right now in this very moment. The merchant feels secure. He will get paid, but he can let go of the customer, and at any time, it could be immediately or possibly an hour later, they can send up the transaction for clearance. And that's the second step, the online settlement, when money is moved between accounts. But think of it, the merchant doesn't care if he gets the money immediately or if it takes half an hour or 5 minutes. As long as we can get rid of that time-critical moment, let go of the customer in the shop, don't let them wait. This is what we achieve with digital cash. We also solve the privacy problem, because with digital payments today, the bank sees everything you do. Why do we have to have it that way? Cash was never that way. We can solve that. So it's a lot of good stuff we can do with digital cash. Today, we announced how we look upon the world, on how we see we can go, because we have a vision. It's a fantastic vision. We believe that digital cash will be everywhere, in every single mobile wallet of the world. And let me explain how we can even get there. It sounds sort of grandiose, and it is. It's a big plan. In this world of digital payments, there is the rail, rälsen in Swedish, the rail, the digital payment rail. This is all these companies that are involved in making transactions happen. Then there are a bunch of companies as well, like Crunchfish, who are tech enablers. We do not interact with the actual transaction itself, but we provide technology to the digital payment companies in order for them to have sort of great technology for transacting and doing the payments. They obviously also have technical capabilities that they help each other with. So it's all quite a whole ecosystem here, where you have the companies that do the transaction, that's on the rail, and we have tech enablers, and that's Crunchfish is certainly one of them. And if we break it up, this blob of digital payments, what is it on the rail? I was hosting a webinar series, and Christina Weishammer, I like that quote. She said, digital payments is something everybody's using every day, but no one really knows how it works. And it is a complex ecosystem of really understanding how does it work. And this is an attempt, at least we need this map ourselves, in order to map out our partner strategy. Where does everybody fit in? On the top level, international, typical level, there are the networks. To the right there, I have the payment networks. These are the likes like MasterCard, Visa, American Express, international sort of networks that have developed it for spreading out, use our rail for payments. Network umbrellas is almost like networks of networks. They are organizations. In India, they have NPCI, is a great example of an umbrella, network umbrella company. But RBI in India, the Reserve Bank in India, has asked for more because they need it, because right now it's just exploding in India with digital payments. Then you can have payment scheme. It could be crypto payments, and it could be CBDC, it could be real-time payment, and there will be companies who deliver sort of technology for these. That's at the very top level. Going down one level, we are at the bank level. There are the banks. This is who holds your account. There is the central banks that are the banks for the banks, and they also do a part of this whole game here. They usually do the final settlement of any sort of transaction in the country. And then in many countries, particularly in Africa, they were early with mobile payments, and it was all built around the mobile operators. In the middle there, I have the switch. This is actually the providers of that provides the capability of moving money from one account to another. That's sort of the switching platform, a very sort of central part, and it's in the middle of my picture as well. Our customer base, what we believe is our sort of customer base, our prime customer base in this picture, is the next level. It's the wallets. You have OEM Pay. That would be, OEM stands for other equipment manufacturer. This is sort of Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, Google Pay, that this service comes with the phone you buy. That's called OEM Pay. Then there are payment service providers. In Sweden, we have Swish. In India, there is Paytm. And these are regulated players that provide payment services. And then there are third-party apps. Any app that is not a regulated player from the central bank's point of view, but they are using payment service. In Sweden, it would be here in Skånetrafiken. They have integrated payment services like from Visa, MasterCard, so that you can use their app. So these are the third-party applications. All of these are wallets, and all of these, we think, would benefit from having digital cash. The lowest level here, this is sort of our world. This is sort of where it's physical, where you meet. This is a customer having a payment app in their hand, and in some proximity interaction, it could be Bluetooth, NFC, QR, ultrasound. In some way, you communicate with some sort of merchant terminal on the other side. And we believe that, as it is today, the merchants are prepared to pay fees to the payment service provider for delivering this kind of service. So this is a little bit a picture of how the ecosystem looks like. And what we have announced today is sort of that we will roll out what we call a digital cash partner ecosystem or strategy for that. And there are two, as I said before, there are the tech enablers like ourselves, never part of the transaction itself, but deliver tech into this big rail. And then there are the operators as well, the digital payment rail companies as well. And they can also become our partners. This was our very first. We announced it about 6 months ago, or I think during the summer. This is Viki, and you can see my line there. They provide it's sort of modeled on the smart chip that sits on plastic cards, but they have done it all in software. So they provide a soft environment where you safely can execute an offline wallet. You can keep them balanced there, and you can do all the executions inside. Viki, a Singaporean company, extremely strong in this area, delivered the world's first virtual secure element, meaning that it's not based on hardware, it's just in software. And they have reached this common criteria EAL3+, which is a very high standard, the highest in the world for being able to deliver this kind of security on both iOS and Android. So that gives us the foundation on smartphones to deliver this kind of service. Last week, we announced e-currency. This is the leading company in the world for looking at how should central bank be able, in digital form, issue cash. You know, they issue notes and coins today, but that is becoming almost not so modern anymore. They need a new form, but doing the same thing as they did yesterday. This is called a digital fiat currency, and e-currency builds that system. They can issue cash to central bank, and they can distribute it to all the banks and payment service providers. And they need us, because cash is fundamentally an offline thing. And this currency that they bring into market, this new digital service, needs to replicate sort of how cash performs. And that means it needs to have some privacy level on it, and it needs to be able to do it offline. So we complement them. But thanks to their relationship with, they've been around this for 10 years. They're part of the standards body that set the standard here. They talk to all these central banks. And if you could imagine, when they come with their tech to these central banks, and they bring us into this equation, the central bank will push this currency all out to every single sort of bank and payment service, and we will ride on that wave because we are their partner for the offline sort of transaction, or doing the digital cash in that sense. We also announced last week, this is a kind of an interesting player as well. Everybody knows PIN codes, that you can authorize things with PIN codes. You know biometrics, you can have thumb, or you have facial recognition. This is what they call an invisible security. This looks at how you behave when you use your device. How hard do you press on the screen? How fast do you type your password? How do you hold your phone? All these is about 1,000 different sort of markers that they collect while you're using it. You obviously have to permit it as well, but they only use it for the banks to authenticate that this is actually you using your phone. So even if someone has stolen your password, they may not actually get access to the service because the bank could stop it, or the payment service provider could stop it, and seeing this is sort of this is a robot doing this. They can see this is not a human actually coding in. So it's a very interesting technology, leading edge, neo-wide, and there are new partners of ours which complements our sort of offering into this sort of market. So what we're all about here, Crunchfish, we are, as I said before, we're about to try to enable all the wallets in the world with digital cash. We have the vision that every single wallet, and I mean it, should have digital cash, and preferably from Crunchfish. And why it would be from Crunchfish, I'll come to in just a second. And I think it's an interesting play we have, because we deliver a service here, a very interesting service that people need, both in Sweden, because when cash is gone, and it's almost gone already, we will miss this great means of payment, cash, which always works. You know, how difficult isn't it when a bank server or bank ID or Swish goes down and we are standing there without being able to pay? With digital cash, you can. And then we have India, on the other hand, which today doesn't have our IT infrastructure of Sweden. So it's sort of difficult there. They have problems with connectivity many times. Right now, the bank servers are on the knees because everybody want to go digital. And then they have half the population on feature phones. All that we can address with our digital cash solution. So we deliver this service, but without owning the ecosystem. We deliver something on top. And there, I think it is an interesting play to do. Here in India, I think there is about 500 wallets, probably. This is me killgissande, guesstimating, really. I don't really know. It could be 400, it could be 300. I know on UPI, which is the one rail, they have 120 different Swish-likes app running on that, but then you have to add a much more third-party application wallets as well. So I'm guessing 500. There are 60 million merchants. Obviously, we can't go to every one of those, but we can reach them via the wallets, and we can reach the wallets via the higher levels. Today, India, and I loved it, they said, we're gonna now start looking at CBDC, central bank digital currency. That came out today. People Bank of China are already sort of leading this way. That is putting stress on everybody, even ECB in Europe, because they know, China have said, we want to make our digital yuan sort of a world currency. And that puts a lot of stress, you can imagine, on India, on Europe, on US, everybody. So it's going to go fast now with CBDC. And if we get into the solution for RBI, they will say, well, you have to have our sort of scheme. That's what you should use. And we like to be part of that. And that's how you push out to the whole country's wallets quite quickly. And I want to make a comparison, just for the fun of it, that we have seen those companies in the past, or they are still around. The top one is the highest valued company in the world. And what did they do? Well, they said, we're going to sell books. But we're not going to have bookstores. We're not even going to own the stores ourselves. We're going to build a platform so you can, over the internet, order. So they deliver some sort of global service here, but without owning the ecosystem underneath. Amazon. Spotify, the same thing. They don't own the music rights. They own the right to stream it. And that's what they built on their platform. Netflix, the same thing. Look at Airbnb. Look at Uber, the biggest taxi company in the world. They have a platform, but they don't own the taxis. They don't own the drivers. They have the platform. And then Skype. I remember when someone from Dagens Industri wrote an article long way before they were sold the first time. They are worth 150 million krona. I have done the math, nothing more. And they sold 1 or 2 months later to eBay for 30 billion, just a few months later. I wonder if he still has his job, because obviously there are ways to value those disruptive companies, which is not in the classical way. But cash is king, it's important to say. We say it, you know, in our area, yes, as Linda said, cash is king of digital payments because it's the best means of payment. But we, as a company who sets expectations for the future, we need to start talking about, when will the revenue, when will the cash ever come? And it's we're not ducking the question, but we are still a company who, with great tech for the future. But let me end my presentation by touching on it. In digital cash, we are really close, and this is the biggest area of our company. I recommend you to follow, we have Västra Hamnen who do sort of contracted analysis of our company. There you can read a little bit of their projections, and it's sort of, they do their best to try to give that future projection of what's going on. And we are close to get revenues from here. Blippit was the big thing of 2019 for us, and we were a bit unfortunate with the COVID because we were attached to some of the players where, you know, the event industry and the fashion industry, and these company has been reconstructed or needed to be. So it was difficult for us. But we have gone for the FMCG, which is a fast-moving consumer goods right now. So we're coming back. Food waste, great thing. We have an innovation in this area. The one says there, it means that we have one innovation which we have applied a patent for. In this area, it's already granted. Nearby, 13 innovations, 12 of them already granted. Gestures, 12 innovations, 11 is granted. In total, this company, we sit with 38, if you sum this up, 38 innovations that we have applied patents for. 29 is already granted. The one we are missing and not granted yet is the digital cash one, because they haven't really even been examined yet. But we are at the early stage, but we are looking at breakthrough things in the world. And yeah, follow us. I think we will be surprise people. How quickly this could be. And I'm very happy about our partner strategy that we launched this year, or this day, because I think that's the ecosystem that will really bring us to market. I think that was it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joachim. You told us so many interesting things there. You're doing so much things in various, you're addressing various problems. But could you fill in the dots a little? How are all these areas, how is it connected?
It's almost embarrassing to say they're not really. They're connected with the overarching idea.
They're just great ideas.
Yeah, we are extremely techy. We come up with great ideas. We understand a little bit where the future is going, as I said in the beginning, when we are part of creating it. But there are really 5 different tech platforms that we're driving. The main two that we are really focused on right now is digital cash and it's gesture. Yeah. The other ones are in early stages. Blippit, as I said, that's all delivered in a way. But and I think Blippit will get its big renaissance when digital cash comes, because Blippit is a great.
So they are connected in a way. They are like feeding each other.
And also, you know, food waste is also all about the cash register as well. But they address big different problems in a way. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And you yourself, you held the role of chairman for like 7 years of Crunchfish, and then you switched the chair. You jumped over to the CEO chair last year in March. So with 1 year almost as a CEO, what is the best thing that you have done since as a CEO?
I think it's to take the digital cash because it was we applied for this patent in January. We went to India. They thought it was really interesting for that market, and then I came back and said, well, hey, I think I have to step in because this is going to be huge. But the way we've executed around digital cash for this year and built this base, engaged the Indians, we have 5 people in India, fantastic people. I think we are in such a great spot right now. So taking the company but also now, I think, if you look at, we just launched last week our new website. Now it's much more clearer what we do. Even if we do a lot of things, you can understand
If you didn't visit the website or the new website, please go ahead and do so, because it's very, I agree with you, it's very structured. So let's dig into the latest news, and then we will get back to Blippit and also to India. You announced today your new partner strategy for solutions for digital cash, and you're inviting partners to build like an ecosystem of companies. So can you tell us a little bit more about this? What are your expectations for this partner strategy?
Yeah,
what will come out of it?
I think it is, if we take our first partner, for instance, Viki, second partner, eCurrency, and just see how that mix. You know, for us, they're also, Viki is a tech partner, just like we, and they provide that secure environment for our offline wallet to operate. But now when we got e-currency, and they have this relationship with the central banks, enabled to push something out to the entire country, we'll bring Viki into those deals, obviously. So I think, and they will go quite quickly. It will almost like be multiplication effects here, because the stronger we get our ecosystem, the more want to join that ecosystems. And we will, I think in the next 3 months, we will not be sitting at 3. I think we will probably be sitting at 10 partners. It will go really quickly now. And we benefit from their wherever they have gone with their install base, we can go also. And we help them to get to ours, but also we can go to their partners' partners, and they go to our partners' partners. So it becomes really an entangled ecosystem, and that will propel us to the future. It's going to be one of our pillars of our strategy to reach all wallets.
So how will you, Crunchfish, profit from this? Because it's a collaboration. How will you profit?
No. The way we set it up is actually we do a technical integration agreement. So we just make sure that our product work together, but we go independent. With e-currency, we have not signed up for that they set any of our prices. So when we set our own prices to the entire sort of nations. So
this brings you closer to the clients, or
yeah. Well, we would come with a great solution together, which is better than we could have done, independently. But we are in full control to then price it to the market, and we will price it sort of cleverly, not too high, but we can't give it away either, because we obviously all our shareholders are asking for when is the money coming, but it will come. Okay.
My guess is that some from our audience would probably be working at the credit card companies, because what you are doing should be of interest for them. What can you say about the attitude from the credit card companies towards Crunchfish and your offering?
They understand what we can do, and they understand it's interesting. You are offline with a credit card. If you think of it, it has no connection. It's just a plastic with a smart chip on. And what's connected is the merchant. The merchant is online. And they have facilities already to accept an online payment. It's called a sort of store and forward, that you can accept as a merchant up to a floor limit, a certain sort of transaction. However, there is a risk with that transaction, and without having a balance here, how much you can spend, we take away what is called a double sort of spending problem. That's one thing we do for them. But we also have our solution is that we can also send up transactions from the mobile phone to the issuer. That's not the merchant is connected to an acquirer, and the issuer is sort of the ones that would like to understand what is going on. In order to reconcile, we can do that as well. But in India particularly, which is the market where we are mostly focused, if you have to go to where there is a car terminal, India has 16 million merchants. It's probably only, I would say, maximum 5 million of them. So they're missing out on 55 million. Yeah. But we could help them by doing instead what's called a pull transaction coming from the terminal. It's actually coming from the apps as well, but doing it on the card rails. And then we can open up them to the entire ecosystem of India. And that means that we need the digital cash, because in many of those places you are not connected, and they don't have the support for what they have in the terminals. So they know what we can do for them, and we are talking to them. Okay,
but let's talk a little bit more about the market in India. Are they mature enough to embrace your solution?
Oh yeah, in some respect, they are way ahead of us. We are always proud of ourselves. We are in Sweden, we are Ericsson land, and we are good.
But they are still very cash-oriented, I would say.
Yes, 82%, but it's going down quickly now because of the pandemic. But the way they've set up their country and the way they do digital services, they're really moving, breakneck speed. And we are right in the mix of it and actually accelerating. I'm sort of telling people that we are like a Kinder egg right now for India. 3 surprises in one. We solved the connectivity, which is a huge problem. We solved the overloaded bank servers because we can buffer those transactions, and then you let go of the customer, and then you can settle it later. But we also can address the financial inclusion for all the feature phone. That's half of the population. Yeah, okay. We solve for that as well. So we're solving for 3 huge problems for India. So we are, at the level right now of RBI, and they're looking at what can we do for this country. That is how interesting we are for the acceleration. And this is the fastest growing mobile payments market in the world.
Okay, so that's why I don't want to leave it right now. Just have one more question. What would you say, what's the main milestone or probably better, what is the key to get into the Indian market? What do you really...
Right now, the key milestone we're going to do is sort of a proper proof of concept to really show a full closed loop end to end. That's what we need to do. And we can sort of do that anywhere. We can do it with Swish, we can do it in India, we can do it, it's so many we can do it with. But after that, it's about sort of to scale from that and to scale fairly quickly. And that's why I think this partner strategy that we launched today is extremely key, because that's the key in order to, because Swish is one player, but you know, if you can get to the central bank, you will get to, in India then, 500 players immediately, you know, not immediately, but when they take on the central bank currency of India. And likewise with their card rail, you talked about, if you know, look at MasterCard and Visa, they're working with probably 10, 15,000 banks, each of them. If we get a partnership with them, we are potentially sort of could address that whole base, because they all have payment solutions.
Okay, let's talk a bit, now we talked so much about your market and all the potential goals out there. It's very interesting, but could you tell me a little bit, your revenue model, could you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because you've talked a lot about it, but I still don't, it's quite complicated.
Yeah,
because
it's
new. Could you just...
I think sort of I think at the end of the day, I think the money will be collected in some way from the merchants. Just like if you think of iSettle today, they have a few hundreds for every terminal they have there, and they charge a percentage. I think that is, and the payment service providers, they could collect that money in a way. So I think, but we will probably not address 60 million Indian merchants. It will be by that higher level. But we enable much more transactions in those networks, because they will be, when they're using the offline rail, which we propose, then I think we should get a fair share of that, because otherwise they couldn't do those transactions. So it could be a monthly fee per merchant they have in their network, just like Swish is charging, you know, 600 per year. That's 50 krona or 500, whatever it is. It's like 50 a month. And then Swish is sort of charging 1 or 2 krona per transaction. This is sort of how we also could revenue by working with those wallets and getting our fair share of the transactions that they are missing today.
Yeah, okay. So you're solving the problems for tomorrow, but when are you going to start earning more money today?
I think the year, there will be a lot of things happening today. There will be things on the Blippet side. There is already, we had a big, you know, on the gesture side, we got the Oppo deal again, sort of a few millions on that, which is one of the biggest providers in the world for mobile phones. But digital cash is where the big money will come from, and we are at breakthrough soon. So
okay.
it is exciting.
I wish you all the best, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joachim, and good luck in India there.
Thank you.